Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. As you can see on the screen there, today's presentation, the webinar, we're going to be taking a look at how Class Companion can be used to enhance group work. And the way that I want to start this off is by letting you know that in just a second, I'm going to put an image up on the screen, an image of a classroom from above, made with the help of AI. And this image is going to consist of students working in groups. I want you to imagine that you're the teacher as you see this image. And I want to imagine that you've just set them loose on the activity. What kinds of questions, I want you to ask yourself, what kinds of questions might you be asking yourself at that moment? But also, what kind of questions might you be asking yourself as you move through the group work, as you get to the end of the group work? Maybe even what kind of questions, other than, what's this group work supposed to look like, but then also questions that you might have asked yourself leading up to setting the students loose on the group work. So here's the image that I want you to take a look at from above. Imagine you're the teacher in this class. Imagine maybe even that over in the corner where we can't see out of the view of this particular camera angle, you have a group of four, or maybe even five, for whatever reason. And as you can see, there happens to be a single student sitting there. Most groups look like they're in twos, or are they evenly divided up? I don't know. I haven't even counted. Three. I guess they're mostly threes and twos. Imagine, what would you be asking yourself right now? What would you, if you're an administrator, be encouraging a teacher to be asking themselves at this particular moment? So I want you to take just a second and to reflect on that. I just want to look over here to see who's gotten in here. Dustin, I like that comment you just made. I might have to borrow that one. James Botts is here from Kentucky. Hi, James. AP Gov, good, James. I'm curious to see what you have to think about all of this. And let's see, I missed one. Okay, Dustin is here. Nice. All right. So, James, what we've started off with is the presentation today is obviously going to be on group activity, how Class Companion can be used to enhance group activity. And as a high school AP Gov teacher, what I'd like you to do is just kind of look at this image here right now. I don't know if you caught it before you got in, and ask yourself, what kind of questions, if you're doing a group activity, what kind of questions might you be asking yourself at this particular moment? And also, what kind of questions might you be asking yourself as you move through the activity and as you get to the end of the activity? And better yet, just to frame it even more, if you're an administrator and you were coaching, I see you're an instructional coach there, James, an administrator or an instructional coach, what kind of questions would you be encouraging a teacher to be asking themselves as they not only start off this activity, as they work through it and they get to the end? And so giving you a couple moments to kind of contemplate that. And I think at this point, maybe we can move into the next slide. Let's go there right now. Okay. For me personally, here are some of the questions that I, almost 40 years of teaching, long asked myself when I set students loose on group work. And the first one was always very clear. How can I make sure that they are actually learning what this group work, this task, is designed to teach? I mean, all group work has some learning, some objectives, you want the students to acquire some content. How can I make sure that they've actually learned that? That's my first and foremost my question. Curious how many of you would have picked the same. Second question, what should I do if one student seems silent or disengaged? What should I do? Should I do anything? Third question, if an entire group drifts off task or appears to drift off task, how will I know if they're making progress? I know that admins have accused me in group work and PD sessions of drifting off task. I'm just a fast learner, I always have been. I don't need all that time that they give us. And then what am I getting? Well, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to relax. But I got what they wanted me to get. But they don't know that. And how do I know that the students in my class aren't more like me than maybe someone that is going to acquire the learning slower. How can I know what's happening in the groups I don't get to visit? My rooms, a lot of kids in that class, and though I work them in groups, just moving around in that room, it's tough. The space between the groups, sometimes it's completely and absolutely blocked. Sometimes I work with one group, and they take up way more time than I had imagined. And now we're getting towards the end of the period, and I didn't get to see all groups. I have no idea where some of the groups are at in terms of what the objectives for the group work is. How can I capture evidence of learning from every student and not just the most vocal ones? And how am I going to wrap this thing up? What am I going to do? And what should I do if I want to extend the learning, if I want the students to apply it further? What can I do? Now, excuse me, let me just do this here for you. There we are. Whoops. Oh, hold on here. Technical issue. There. Before AI, these are very, very tough questions to answer. At least they were for me. I mean, observation, intuition, the little time I have to circulate, that is only going to take me so far as being able to find out what these groups are really learning. And certainly my experience was that some groups are just going to get more of my attention than others. The quietest students, I'll be honest with you here, they often slip through my fingers. I mean, I'd see them. How am I going to find out what they're really thinking? Evidence of learning was hard to capture, and certainly hard to capture consistently, certainly usually limited to a few voices or quick impressions. And so I often walked away still wondering, did every student actually learn what I wanted them to learn? That's before AI and before Class Companion. So now with AI, with Class Companion, the questions I've always asked myself during group work are still the same, still remain the same, though what's different is that with AI, with Class Companion, I now have an opportunity to address these questions a whole lot better without adding a lot of extra work, a burden onto my shoulders. So the way I like to phrase this is now we have a better window into every student's thinking. We can provide feedback that is instant, and we all know how important instant feedback is. We all know that and though we may not have the science for it, but in our guts, we certainly are convinced that when the students get instant feedback, it's more likely to lead to learning than when they get it several days later down the road. All right. We'll have evidence of learning captured far more fully than observation alone. And we have insights that are going to support my teaching instead of creating way more grading for me. So with that said, with that little introduction said, I now want to show you how I envision Class Companion being able to be used to help answer these questions. And as you can see, I've broke it down into two categories: during group work and after group working. How can Class Companion use to enhance group work? It can do it during group work, and it can do it after group work. During group work, I see two very, very specific ways. Maybe there are more, but I certainly see two big ones. First one is to check for understanding, to find out, hey, what are they learning? And I can do that with this tool in Class Companion, the Create Assignment with AI tool. So take a look at that right there. I'm just going to read that off to you a little bit if you don't mind. Teachers can use Class Companion to create and assign MCQs, multiple choice questions, and SAQs designed to make visible what's really happening in groups. Better yet, they can do it when the need arises. Check out those different scenarios. When one student is strikingly silent or disengaged, the teacher wants to know whether that student has actually learned what they need to learn. That's fine. I just quickly go to the Create Multiple Choice, the Create Assignment with AI. I tell it to create some multiple choice questions, and I send them right off to that one student. I can also do it with an entire group. I see an entire group appear to be off task. I want to know, are they learning what they're supposed to be learning? Again, with that Create Assignment with AI tool, very easy, from my desk. Won't take me more than 60 seconds. I can tell the AI, hey, I have a group. I need 5 multiple choice questions, 1 short answer question. Here's what they're supposed to be knowing by now. Send it off. Let's find out. Let's find out what they know. Okay. How about that third one? When the teacher has circulated among the groups, time is running out, class isn't over yet, but I didn't get to 2 out of my 5 or 6 groups. And yet I want to know that entire group, those entire groups. I know where the ones are that I went and talked to. I know where the group is and I know where the individuals are. I've been probing them and questioning them. I've got a sense of it. But I didn't get to those other 2. Well, again, 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes if 60 seconds was a bit of an exaggeration. It doesn't take longer than that. Just plug it in there. I need some multiple choice questions based on what they were supposed to be learning while they were working in the groups. And off it goes. Students can answer those before the period is out. All right. And then when the teacher has no clear sense of where any group stands, you can also do it then. So think about that. During group work, we can use Class Companion to check for understanding. And it's all through that one feature, create assignment with AI, because it goes so fast. Students respond and get instant feedback on the MCQs, instant feedback if I want on the SAQs. Of course, I can hold those off. But that's how we can find out. What else can we do during group work? Well, we can enhance the peer review experience. And you'll see that right there, okay? Remember this one right here. So in my last webinar, I showed a 4-step process for that. A process that attempted to strike a compromise between teachers who, on the one hand, say, when it comes to peer review, students exchanging papers, commenting on each other's writing, when it comes to peer review, and particularly the classic model, something like along the lines of what I just said, there is no place for AI. This is all has to be about the students. And those, the other side, who say, what are you talking about? Peer review is dead. You know, why would we ever do peer review again when we have a tool as powerful as something like Class Companion? We know what the feedback of the students is like. We know what the feedback of the AI is like. It's not even a close call. We have those 2 camps. And so what I've done here with these 4 steps is to create a compromise where we are definitely still allowing for students to, and encouraging students to provide peer feedback. But then when they are done with that, Class Companion provides them the AI generated feedback. And so what they have are really 2 lenses, if you will, where they're looking at someone else's work. And that student now is going to hear, what did the student or students across from him or her say, and think about the written work, and what did the AI say. And there are your 4 steps, and I did a whole webinar on that the last time around. I don't want to bog into that because you're going to have the slideshow, or bog down on that because you're going to have the slideshow later anyway. Kelsey, hello. Hey, Kelsey, I'm seeing you in there. I hope we're, so you came a little bit late. I hope we're able to catch you up here. So that's during group work. And what I'd like to do is, if there is somebody here in the group right now or in the webinar right now, and you say, wait a minute, you know what, I see those 2, but there's a 3rd category. I think you could also use Class Companion during group work for this particular purpose. You know, feel free to share. But the 2 big categories that I'm seeing right now are checking for understanding, finding out what the groups or the individuals within the groups have learned. A quick check, you know, just formative, summative, whatever you want, but a quick check. And then also using it to enhance the peer review. After group work, I'm seeing Class Companion helpful in 3 different ways. Again, we're going to be able to check for understanding what's the difference between after group work and during group work. Well, we're going to hold them accountable to the learning that took place throughout the group work, and that's assuming that, you know, it's significant and considerable. And so really no need to go through any explanation there. Same process. We're just going to use that generate with AI, generate assignment with AI feature. And down here, then what else can we do? Well, we can create reflection questions. Teachers can use Class Companion to create SAQs that call on students to self-assess the role they played within the group. Again, use that AI create assignment with AI feature. They're going to create. You're going to create SAQs, self-assess their role, evaluate the group dynamics. I mean, to what extent? I don't know, we could do something like which student played a particularly important role and why, or said something that was particularly memorable and why. You could do it that way if you wanted, and have the student write it out. And then, of course, also what they would do differently the next time around if you were to replay the whole thing. You could do that as well. Let the AI class companion assess it and see where that takes you. And then thirdly, after group work, to extend and apply the learning. And I did a whole webinar on this the other day. I'm going to show it to you in just a second anyway, where teachers use Class Companion to create multiple choice and SAQs designed to encourage students to connect their group work with bigger concepts, real world issues, future lessons, making group work the foundation for deeper learning. So that's, if you will, it all in a nutshell. Now I want to show you what I have here, okay? So go over here for a second. To begin with, the next slide will walk you through specifically how to use Class Companion for checking for understanding. After a podcast, let's say the group has watched a podcast, listen to a podcast. Let's say they watched a YouTube video in their group. Let's say they engaged in some kind of reading in their group. And what we're doing is we're setting up over here, and then over here, how Class Companion can do that. And say, for example, with the YouTube video, you just go up to YouTube and you take down the transcript of the video and pop that into generate assignment with AI. I need 4 questions based on this YouTube video. We're checking to find out, did they watch the video? Did they learn from the video? Can they answer basic questions that logically flow from that video? Podcast, we're just going to plug in the transcript of the podcast. How about a reading? If it's the kind of reading that's shareable, we just plug the whole reading in. If it's not, if there's some copyright issue there, well, then we take a summary of it and we plug it in. Or notes that you have taken on it. I want them to be sure to be able to answer the following question, that sort of thing. And just make it happen for you really, really fast. Same thing if you had your students walk through a lecture. Maybe I know that periodically I will come to a group and they'll say, hey, wait, we're not really getting this whole electoral college thing. I'll go, okay, fine. I want to give you 5 minutes here, and I'm going to just give a little quick mini lecture, sort of a TED Ed kind of style lesson, animated, if you will, at least with the way my hands are moving around, but a lesson. And then I'm going to hold them accountable to that, or maybe they're going to be watching a slideshow, something like that. And then down here, how about if they engage in some kind of game or some kind of Socratic, seminar, some kind of simulation that was the group effort. How will we do that? Well, the teacher's just going to enter a summary of the key takeaways. Maybe if a teacher has a write-up on the objectives and the procedures, you just plug all the information that you have into it, copy, paste, and let the AI do the rest of the work. So that's that. And now we have using Class Companion to enhance peer review. And as you can see, all I've done here is in very detailed step-by-step form, walk you through what we talked about a little earlier. So you have those two. And the third one here is use Class Companion to support student reflection. And look at that. Okay. After a podcast, after a video, if the group's done a reading, again, how do you do it? If it's content, questions that you want to reveal content, checks for understanding, where you want to find out what kind of content that students have learned. And here now, where you want them to reflect on that content. And in this particular case over here, I even have placed in there some sample prompts that work pretty well. Like after a podcast, what was one argument you found convincing or unconvincing in the podcast, and why? I mean, just something simple like that. All kinds of different choices. And then finally, how to use Class Companion to extend and apply learning. All right. So another 1-hour webinar I did on this, a lot more complicated. It works pretty well. I'm not going to use our time today unless there was someone here who would particularly like me to go through that. But there is a way to use Class Companion to ask students questions where they are going to apply what they learned in the group activity and where they are going to extend the learning that took place. You can do that, but it's a little bit of a process. It starts off with a teacher creating a Google Doc, and then we work way down here, and then you're going to have to put in some very specific prompts and so on and so on. But it can be done. It's kind of cool when it is done. I had somebody showcase it for me just here recently. It worked really, really well, very impressive, and I was very pleased. But I'm not going to detail it at this point in time. I think if you are interested in that, the slideshow will be up on the Class Companion website. And I would just suggest you go to this slide, click on it, read through it. These two samples here, sample documents, are very, very important. Click on those, take a look. And if for any reason, you get lost or you have questions, reach out to me. Reach out to me. I'll be more than glad to walk you through as far as I can or answer any of your questions. And now we're at this point where I've given you a pretty good idea of how I'm envisioning Class Companion being used during group work. And I'd like to move to the Q&As. And to help you with that, I put a whole bunch of questions up there. These are the ones that I would ask myself if I were in your shoes. Starting off with the one that everybody's asking, right? If we're talking AI, how do you do this without putting more devices or screen time in front of the kids? How can that be done? Well, it's kind of a self-evident sort of question. It really can't. I mean, we are putting screen time in front of the kids, and we just have to decide, whether that's got a good educational purpose there. And then here are some other questions. So before I get to those, and I'm going to give you a chance to look over them, those of you who are here, James, Kelsey, Dustin, and so on, and I think Christy, you're here, and Marjorie, and let's see, I think I already mentioned it. Do you have any questions at this point in time? Is there anything that, James, as a teacher who teaches a lot, let's see, we got AP World too. Kelsey, how cool. I would, what are you thinking with this? Do you want me to go back over anything? Was anything not clear, or have you explored this at all? In fact, let's do this in the chat box right away here first. Is there anybody who is brand new? Because this particular webinar had an assumption built in that attendees would already be somewhat familiar with Class Companion. Is there anybody here who's brand new to Class Companion? And if you're not, can you just say experienced, and we'll go at that, or I'm experienced, or I've used it. Can we do that? Okay. And Dustin, there we go. Good, great. Okay, James, you've used it. Kelsey's been using it. Oh, nice. All right. Dustin, are you familiar? Not completely new, but haven't used AI to create it. Okay. All right. It's Christy, I think, right? It says Marjorie there, but I think I saw earlier you wanted to be called Christy, so I'll call you Christy unless you tell me no, it's Marjorie. Christy, if you're going to explore it further, and I'm going to give you something here in this slideshow that will help you do that. In fact, I'll show it to you in just one second. But I do want you also, all of you, feel free to reach out to me. We're going to come back to the questions. Let's just move to the next slide just for 1 second to show those of you what I have who may be brand new to this. And that is, here we go. First of all, a video. And this video was created by the CEO of Class Companion, Avery Pan. That was created a little over a year ago. Very, very good short video, give you a great introduction. So if there's anybody brand new here, you'll learn how to the basics of the platform. Although what I'm going to tell all of you is really it's not that complicated. Go to Class Companion, create an account, and go to first thing you're going to do is create a class. You click on create a class. Type down anything, third period U.S. history, first period world history, whatever the case might be. You're going to create a class. 2 steps. And then once that class is created, you're going to say create assignment. You just click on the create assignment and it will take you right to create assignment with AI. Yes, you're going to get 2 other choices. You can look for an assignment in the content library. You can upload your own assignment. You can use an existing assignment. But what I encourage everybody to do when you're brand new to Class Companion is just create it with the help of AI. You'll be absolutely stunned. The other thing I have here. Oh,
hi, I'm going to show you how to generate assignments with AI.
Let's do it this way.
I'm going to show you how to add.
Wait a second, let's go back. There. Is I have this other slide where there are 4 videos that every PAN has produced. And right there, how to generate an assignment, how to create an assignment with AI. Here, if it's going to be an SAQ, you'll need a rubric of some kind. And sure, you can find one in the content library or the rubric library, I mean, for Class Companion, or you can upload your own. But what I would suggest is just ask the AI to do it for you. Tell the AI what you want, and then have it do it for you. And again, I think you'll be pretty impressed with how that comes out. Here, a little short video of what it looks like from the student end. And here, for teachers who want to import their own assignments, not very complicated at all, a video that will describe how to do that. The platform is very self-explanatory. And then the very last slide I have here is a slide that shows a number of the features. Really the very special stuff, or the stuff that makes Class Companion very special. The platform has worked hard and long to make sure that to listen to teachers. It really has made a great effort to listen to teachers. And a lot of talk with teachers. How can the platform be improved? Many of those suggestions actually being implemented and in terms of special features. And there you'll see a good batch of them. So if we go back here right now, and that's really the end of the slideshow there, let's go back to here and put those questions up there one more time. And I want to see here. Okay. So I'm just looking over the comments. If there's anybody who has a question, but these, I guess what we can do here is I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box. So if we were to, let's do it this way. If you wanted me to answer one of these questions, just one, how about if you just put down a pick, like 1, 5, whatever the number, just throw a number out there. Let's try it that way. So if I could have each of you do that and take a second to look that over. And Christy, I'm imagining that when you say you haven't used it to create an assignment, you've probably been using it from the excuse me. You've been using the ones that are already up there. And I don't recall what you teach. Let me look here. So you're an instructional coach. Okay, got it. Okay, so 5, 1, 6 I'm seeing. All right, let's start with 1. Yeah, I mean, Kelsey, it's a great question. And I don't know how to answer it other than, sure, your AI is about screen time. And if you're going to be recommending, suggesting, or in any way promoting the use of AI, it does add up to screen time minutes. So how do I do this without putting more devices or screen time in front of my students? I don't have a very good answer except to say, well, I don't think it can be done. Yeah. And then let's do James's question. James, if I remember right, you're the AP Gov teacher, right? And correct me if I'm wrong there in the chat box, but does it work? Oh, great question. Does it only work with written responses, or can it handle other formats? So the answer is yes, it can handle handwritten responses. And there's a fair share number of teachers right now, and I'm sure I'm not telling any of you anything new here, who have decided that the best way to deal with the so-called age of AI is to go to pen and paper only. That's it. And yet, then what they also do is say, and then I'm not introducing AI at all into the mix. Well, okay, fine, or to each their own. But I don't quite understand why okay, if you're going to go to pen and paper, that's in the name of making sure that the kids aren't cheating. But then why not submit? Just you take with Class Companion, the kids take a picture of what they wrote, their handwritten response, and they simply upload it. There's a little button there, upload, and it uploads, and Class Companion can read that. Although, let's face it, handwriting is handwriting. So as someone who reads a lot of handwritten kind of stuff, and certainly did years and years ago as a state reader here on another kind of writing project, it can get very, very difficult. And the AI is also periodically will struggle, which of course affects accuracy. But yes, to answer your question directly, James, Class Companion is designed that when the student, if you want your students to write their responses, handwrite their responses, they can upload them and the AI will respond. Now, having said that, and I need to check this out myself, I don't know if there's a delay in response. With when you, excuse me, just a minute, let me get some water, please. Thank you. When you, when the response is typed, okay, the feedback is instant. But I don't know if that's the case or if there's some kind of delay, especially if you have, say, 30 students all submitting it at once. So I hope that took care of your question, James. And Kelsey, I think I've taken care of yours. If you have a follow-up, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going down the list here. Number 6, James wants to know, how do I balance my own observation with what Class Companion shows me? Well, I love this question. So Class Companion has built into it a dispute button. So when students get their responses, if they, for whatever reason, question the AI response, they can press a little button and it immediately comes to the teacher. Now, there's all kinds of settings attached to that. The teacher can say, hey, I'm not going to respond to the dispute until you explain to me in writing why and what you're disputing. You could do it that way. Or you could just say, hey, just click it and then I'll look it over without explanation, without reason, and I'll decide for myself. That's one way that can work. The other way that it can work is you can hold off you can hold off sending to the students the feedback until after you've looked it over. There's two ways to go here. And so how do I balance my own observation with what Class Companion shows? The answer is the teacher is in control of that. I am a huge fan of the dispute button. Some of my best memories of Class Companion in class was sitting where I do and having be able to see the entire class. The scores go out, the responses go out, and then just looking around the room. And you'll see a student start to move around a little bit, and they're sort of have this look on their face. They may lean over and say to someone sitting next to them, what they're saying is this right? Is the AI right? Okay, they're having a discussion. Or they want to press that dispute button, but they don't. What they really want to do is they want to get out of their seat and they want to come up to you and dispute. They raise their hand and, can I come talk to you? Oh my gosh, that's the best. That is the best. When students challenge AI, they so get into it. And you just know deep learning takes place there. That to me is sort of one of the unkept secrets or untold secrets of AI generated feedback. I didn't really experience that so much with teacher generated. I hear teachers say, and these are always going to be teachers who are opposed to the use of AI in education, say their kids want teacher generated feedback. Now, I don't buy it. I think there are many, many students who are simply not comfortable telling their teachers that they're not comfortable with challenging teacher feedback. I mean, I certainly wasn't in high school. I did not want to upset my teachers. I was raised, don't upset the teachers. It would have been viewed as disrespectful somehow. teachers are the experts. You don't challenge them. You learn what they want. But students are so I think personally, students are way more likely to challenge AI. And when they do, to me, that's a measure of their wanting to learn. So I welcome that. And I think it's really cool when it happens. And it is very exciting when they memories I have is the student will say, can I bring up also? And they'll bring up two other students, usually friends of theirs who they really trust and think they know their stuff and are going to agree with them. So they're getting ready for the battle. And the discussion that takes place at your desk there, a fine moment for being called a teacher. Is kind of you come home at the end of the day and go, that was cool. Whether you agree, whether you don't agree, you're the teacher. You're going to make the final call. Whatever that call is, turns usually into a pretty good moment. That's number 6 for James. And then James, you also asked number 8, right? The tool. Let's see, what's 8? What about grading? Oh, can I trust Class Companion to be accurate and fair? All right. Let's do that one. How accurate is the Class Companion? But really, let's broaden that thing out here. How accurate is AI? It's a question that over time the answer has certainly changed. One where there aren't any yet really major studies on it, but here's what I will say. Today, when it comes to short answer questions, stimulus-based, not stimulus-based, if we're talking short answer questions, AI in general is very, very good on this issue of accuracy. Very, very good. How good? Well over 90%. Okay. I don't think you're going to have, certainly an APUSH world, you're not going to have, when it comes to the SAQs, any significant number of students say the AI is wrong, okay? When we're talking essays, when we're talking LEQs and DBQs, that's the accuracy issue there. It isn't. I don't think it's going to be quite as high any longer. But to me, it's a deeper question. Take 100 teachers, take 100 AP Gov teachers, and take AI, and give 100 AP Gov teachers whatever number of papers you want to score them, and then what's going to be the accuracy there? Give it a number, 80%, 70%, whatever. And then let's do the same thing with AI. How is that going to compare and how is that going to contrast? Great question. I don't know the answer. But I have found, this is what I was trying to talk about earlier, that with time, since the launch of ChatGPT in November 2022, the ability of AI to score accurately has increased significantly, number one. And number two, and here's the big one. And this is something that I know certain entities and institutions and so on are seriously taking into account. If you direct the AI to first say, just grade, assess, score, and give feedback as to whether or not the student has earned a thesis point, and the student only pops up the thesis point, meaning that the student's writing is broken into categories. Write the thesis here now. For APUSH, contextualize the prompt here now. Here now, briefly describe one piece of evidence that can be used to support the claim in your thesis. And here now, write 1 to 3 sentences that tie the evidence to that claim. You're not describing it, but they're tying it to the claim. Oh my gosh, it is stunning, just stunning what the AI can do with that. Okay, so that's my answer. James, you've experienced. Can you chime in there? What is your AP Gov? I know there've been some changes there and so on. How accurate? Do you want to comment on that? And also, let's see, the AP World History teacher. Is that you, Kelsey? Was that you? Modern, let's see. Kelsey's, yeah, AP World, Modern in 9th grade. Accuracy, do you want to comment on that? Dustin, you're a academic interventionist in Kansas. Are you, I didn't see if you wrote earlier, are you using Class Companion there by any chance? And I would also, yeah, okay, we'll leave that then. Good. James, I saw you say sure. I think that meant you're going to comment on accuracy, right? The other big question is to what extent do you use it for formative versus summative? And for me, right now, the really big value with AI instant feedback, writing instant feedback platforms, is that not so much this whole thing about accuracy, but about practice. Just practice. That I can give my students way more practice. The AI can create an endless number of practice opportunities and score it, and then simply place the position of the student put the students in a position where they have to come back for dispute. And so I see James say, for now, I only use it as formative. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great suggestion. We're early in this whole rollout thing. Why not? But I will say that as an APUSH teacher and someone with a tutoring business where I do have to hold kids accountable because I got to find out what they can do under test-like situations, I have no problem at all in any of the AP social studies and I don't do I don't do comparative, and I don't do AP compare. Sorry, I don't do macro and I don't do micro. Those are the two. But every other, including AFAM and Psych, I have no problem at all putting AP style SAQs in front of the kids and then holding them accountable to it, because I just find that it works so well. So if it were to be summative, I wouldn't have any problem, especially if I'm going to back check, say 10, 20% of them to see if there was, any anomalies. But yeah, so let's see here. For now, James only uses it as formative. Practice, practice, practice. Kelsey, I find if it is inaccurate, I need to fine tune my rubric or grading criteria a bit, and I rarely have issues with its scoring. Nice. And Kelsey, that was for, again, sorry, I don't have the best memory when it comes to this sort of thing. Oh yeah, okay, so 9th grade, high school, AP World, wow, and Modern and 9th grade Modern, and you're saying it works out well for you there. Good, great, nice to hear. Anybody else have anything there? Mm-hmm. James, the times I have used CC, it has been accurate in terms of matching what I would have given the response. Great. All right. Okay. Question for all of you. Do any of you, are any of you familiar with flipped learning by any chance? Do any of you view yourselves as flipped learners? If you could say yes or no on that. Do you view yourself as a flipped learner, a teacher who flips the learning by any chance? Can I have a quick yes, no there? Okay, let's see. Marjorie, which I think is Christy, says not me. Kelsey says not usually, only when I have a plan. Okay, fine, great. All right. And the reason I bring that up is familiar with the concept, says James, but not a practitioner. The reason I bring it up is because next week I will be talking about flipped learning. I've been associated with it for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to this because the general perception is that flipped learning has died. And the reason for that is they point to the sword, or I got to use a better way of phrasing that. They point to COVID and the launch of AI. COVID wounded flipped learning badly, and AI finished it off. Is sort of the prevailing notion. And I'm going to be talking about that next week. I'll be talking about the fact that chances are it's dead, but still 5,000 teachers on the Flip Learning Facebook group, and there's still a fair share number of teachers that are in the APUSH and the Gov, World History, Psych, AFM, Facebook groups who say, social media say that they are flipped learners, that they teach the course by flipping. And so what I will be sharing next week is how Class Companion can be used in the flipped learning classroom. But the deal is this, is my argument at its core is going to be, it will fundamentally change flipped learning. Flipped learning right now, there's been a flipped learning 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And I will argue that for flipped learning to survive, there has to be a 5.0, which will fundamentally change how flipped learners teach, how their students learn, and how they assess. They'll keep the core concept of flipped learning, homework at home, activity engagement in the classroom. And so if it is going to survive in the age of flipped learning, it's going to have to make significant changes. And those changes amount to moving AI into everything, every corner of what is associated with flipped learning. And I realize, there's some of you who say, well, okay, but I'm not doing flipped learning, and that's fine. But next week, if what I'm saying is true, if I have this right, well, then it will also very easily transfer over to K-12 education. Basically, I'll be showing 9 to 10 different ways that AI can be used and will be used within a very short period of time, if it's not already, by teachers. And you've already seen, a whole bunch here right now. Check for understanding, apply and extend learning, create reflection questions, and just, it goes on and on and on. So a little bit of me pitching next week's webinar. Sorry about that. And that's all I've got for you guys. If unless you have something else, if you want, I'll stay here for just a second. But I will stay here. Is there anything else that I can do for you guys? Oh, thank you, James. If you give it a go, I would love to hear from you. If you're going to, try to use Class Companion to check for understanding during group work, after group work, would love to hear how it goes. Those of you who are already using it are probably after completion of activity and learning. But what I'm curious is if you right there, middle of class, you're looking around, this is what I want. Right there, middle of class, you're looking around, still 20 minutes left in the period. You have a group in the back. Every group was supposed to have read something and discussed something. And you see the group in the back and it just looked like they never checked in. And what I want to hear back from one of you is, oh my gosh, you know what? Within 2 minutes, I use Class Companion to create a check for understanding, multiple choice questions as it relates to that reading, and I sent it over to them. I said, right now, 20 minutes. You don't need 20 minutes to do this many, 5, 6, 7 MCQs, and I want you to do it right now. And so you got up and you stood next to them, maybe monitor a little bit because Class Companion doesn't have a lockdown browser installed, and you didn't want them to be looking for answers elsewhere. Some teachers have nice created workarounds for that. But I'd love to hear how that worked for you. Okay, because that's really what I'm talking about, is the big one there is during the activity, to hold the kids accountable, make sure that they're staying focused. They're staying focused, and that you can prove that they've if they've drifted, that they've drifted, or whatever the case might be. All right. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate. Nice of you to say. All right. And I will then see you all perhaps next week. And if not, we have a whole series of these coming back, I believe, shortly next month, where we're going to be talking about how to work with the insights, one of the later features of Class Companion, and how to make sense of all of that, if I understand this right. Take care, all. Thank you for being here. I will see you, and in any event, wish you a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.